Well, the number of broad-based black economic empowerment certificates submitted by South African businesses rose sharply in 2019, reflecting a renewed awareness of the importance of BEE. The Youth Employment Services says that businesses can still be doing far more to use BEE effectively to improve their own ratings and boost the broader economy. To tell us more about this, we're joined by Dr. Tashmia Ismail-Saville, CEO of Youth Employment Services, written to Yes. A very good afternoon to you, Dr. Tashmia, and thank you for joining us here on SABC News.
Thank you.
There have been some negative sort of connotations linked to BEE for some reason, sometimes linked to fronting and so forth. But you raise the importance of businesses really sort of adhering to BEE. Is this certificate a nice to have? Or is it really important and a beneficial requirement for businesses in South Africa? Perhaps take us through those and really why there's that a negative association with it sometimes.
Yes, so BEE, if it's used effectively, can be a very powerful transformation agent in the economy. We do see that some companies have fatigue with BEE. We also saw a real push for the ownership element of BEE, where elites tended to benefit rather than the more broad-based market, which was the intention of BEE, for it to be broad-based. And I think those legacy issues around the ownership part of the scorecard probably created a lot of negativity around it. We do see, however, if you look at the enterprise and supplier development parts of the scorecard, socioeconomic development and skills development, these are very powerful drivers to try to close gaps in the economy and bring the first and second economy closer together. Now, you know, given where businesses are right now, trying to recover from COVID, what you want to do is set your business up that nothing stands in the way of winning that contract. And, then you see the number of certificates rising because increasingly businesses are realizing that we can't allow our lack of transformation on the scorecard to cost us the deal. And more companies, it's not just if you're looking for business with government, but if you are looking to work with big institutions like the banks, for example, their scorecard is impacted by the scorecard of their suppliers. And so we get a lovely cascade effect where, the importance of becoming transformed as a business is starting to ripple across a larger number of businesses in the value chains. So it really is in terms of business savvy, it's a good idea to have a good scorecard, but there's the long-term impact that if you're doing BEE well and you really are transforming your company, you've got a more diverse workforce. If you're transforming your company, it means the economy as a whole is transformed, and that means better prosperity and inclusive business, which means the market that you operate in is going to be more robust. We cannot continue to operate in a market that has the inequalities of South Africa. It is a huge stunter to economic growth, and there's a lot of economic evidence that points to this.
Yeah, well, please explain to us Youth Employment Services' role in terms of helping with transformation in South Africa, and I suppose the partners that you have in terms of really pushing for this sort of transformation. And on the back of that, is there a way to fast track a transformation? And I mean real transformation, not a case where, let's just add a few black people here and there just so we look like, we are adhering to BEE requirements. I mean, real transformation where companies really do actually want to see transformation not only happen in their own corporations, but really in the country as a whole.
Yeah. So what the Youth Employment Service is a collaboration between government, business and labor. We're an NPO. And what's fantastic is if you want to see big, broad transformation, programs like YES are important because they are operational collaborations between business and government. So what YES has is an amendment to the BEE Codes of Good Practice. So in legislation, if you invest in youth incomes, in youth jobs, you're able to move 1 or 2 levels up on the scorecard. Now, we already have 1,010 companies registered for YES, which means that these companies are working collaboratively on the YES platform. So their investment is amplified by working together with other companies. Yeah. We take the salaries and put youth at community level to work. Now, the fastest way to close inequality gaps and develop communities is to put people into jobs. So we have now moved to 40,000 work opportunities created for youth. This is a big number in South Africa, where we've generally seen the economy go backwards on jobs, particularly now post-COVID. And these 40,000 work experiences put 2.16 billion rand from the private sector directly into youth wallets. Now, this is powerful when you are impacting such a broad base of Black youth, because we also know that youth unemployment is one of the biggest crises that we face as a country. We have the highest unemployment numbers by far of any country in the world as a percentage of our youth population. Communities out in the Eastern Cape post-COVID now, we're seeing unemployment rates going over 58%. And so if you want to effect great change quickly, investing in youth jobs and driving transformation by giving these future custodians of our economy the skills to be able to move into the workforce. It's the most sustainable way to grow the economy, because what we really need in South Africa is a bigger taxpayer base. And so by putting people onto this economic ladder that leads into work opportunities, we start to grow a sustainable future by creating taxpayers for tomorrow.
Yeah. And has enterprise and supply development really achieved the outcome of developing sustainable Black-owned businesses through transformation of value chains?
We see, there's no blanket answer here, because we see some examples of real success. We see some companies making a concerted and very genuine, authentic effort to develop small Black businesses in their supply chains. And there are some examples of where this is working quite well. But if I were to look at the broader market, I think there's a lot more we can do. I think companies are trying to go it alone. And when you try to do a small project on your own, the administrative costs are usually quite heavy. So what we need is to be able to get companies to pool the enterprise and supplier development funding and to really authentically look at growing these small businesses into medium-sized and larger businesses. So we could do this better. I also think that the space has been riddled with activities that aren't genuine or authentic in their development objective, and it has in some areas become a space for a lot of profiteering. But where we've seen an authentic effort, it is probably the most powerful way to shift the economy. Because if you look at successful economies, if you look at the United States, if you look at the European Union, the strength of where their job numbers come from is not big business. Jobs come from small business. They are the biggest job creators. They're the biggest contributors to GDP. And in South Africa, we've got some work to do in building the robustness of our small business sector size. And there are lots of policy changes we can make, but there's also using the BEE scorecard a lot more cleverly and in collaboration to be able to amplify those effects.
Are we the main country in Africa that really sort of puts a lot of importance on BEE, and really in terms of the continent, how well or how badly are we doing? Maybe they don't call it BEE elsewhere, but how are we doing then if we were to look at, on the continent, for example, in terms of how we're doing when it comes to pushing a black business through, things like BEE?
Look, I think we're probably one of the only countries on the continent that has such a well-structured legislated space on black economic empowerment. But that's also because we had the most legislated and deeply structured policies that segregated and oppressed groups of people in this country. So it's necessary for us to have a structured approach to dismantling that and trying to level the playing field. If you look at other African countries, what you also don't see is so many homegrown large companies. So structurally in South Africa, growth has been dominated by a very strong and very powerful private sector with big companies. Whereas if you look at other African countries, you won't see a single one that has generated the behemoths that we have. MTN, back in the day, Sab Miller, De Beers, Standard Bank, Discovery. We are the home. We punch way above our weight in terms of the number of large companies that we've spawned. But like I said earlier, small businesses are where mass jobs are created. If you look at the big companies, they hire more highly skilled individuals, whereas small businesses are a lot more ready to employ young people that have lower skills levels. And the South African unemployed workforce is unskilled. 54% of people that are out there looking for jobs, of youth out there looking for jobs, don't even have a matric certificate. So the most likely place for them to be absorbed is not these big businesses, but small businesses. And there we are lagging. But in terms of big business and formal sector, South Africa is certainly streets and miles ahead technologically and in the size of businesses in our private sector.
All right. Thank you very much, Tashmia. Very interesting indeed. Thank you for giving us your time here on SABC News. That's Dr. Tashmia Ismail-Saville, CEO of Youth Employment Services. Yes. Thank you so much. All right. Well, this week we focus on entrepreneurs living with disabilities. The Deaf Empowerment